Hello, Jenny. We're just going to reposition you. Sorry, everyone. Or me. Is that better? Oh, the positioning is not great, is it? Let's lift it up a bit. Let me see. Oh, this is why we've got no viewers, Jen. It's all good. It's all good. All right, let's do this. Let me see. A little better. That's going to be good. Still not great. Look at that, guys. Look at that, Jen. We got a camera this time. We got a camera. Oh my goodness, my obsession with the word camera. I have a ring light. I have better lighting on this video. So I watch a lot of content creators, and one of the things I hear again and again, or it resonates with me at least, is each video should be a little bit better. And this video, for me, is better. I see the improvements. My inner critic is telling me all the things that are not better and possibly worse, but we're focusing on positives. And that really ties into what I'm going to be talking about in the live stream tonight, which is habits. Habits that I notice in myself and that I attribute to my Gen X upbringing. What I did last time in the live stream was to minimize the image of me that I'm getting from YouTube because I found it was distracting me. And I did get some positive feedback from Gen X POV. I'm a little bit fangirl right now, which is funny because if I was talking to Brendan and telling him that I was fangirling over his channel, I'm sure he'd think that was crazy with his like down to earth perspective. But he did say that he noticed an improvement when I wasn't talking to myself anymore. And I was more like just speaking to my audience when I wasn't looking at myself. What I will say is, I think this time I'm going to keep it on. I want to see if there's a difference. I am a little bit more prepared this time. So I feel that the distraction that I had before is not going to be as noticeable. And I am talking to myself right now instead of talking to the audience, whether the image of myself is down or not. Because for me, doing these live streams, I know that nobody's going to turn up. If somebody does turn up, that would be great. And we would chat about the topic that I was going to discuss. But I am used to looking at myself. Another piece of advice I've heard from content creators is talk to the camera like you're talking to a friend. And as an introvert, I don't have a massive group of friends. The friends that I do have are absolutely amazing and accept me for me. But I do see myself as one of my friends as an introvert. I accept myself. We have similar values, the same person. And yeah, so the purpose of the live stream is really to practice making videos and just watch myself improve. From these live streams, I have been downloading them. And what I'm going to do is make videos from them. And when I make the video to post on my channel, all of this will be edited out because obviously this has no part in a YouTube video. The content I'm discussing, what I'm going to be talking about, that does have a place in a YouTube video. And that's what I'm going to be doing moving forward with the channel. Obviously, I'm still in a huge learning phase and I have a lot of skills I need to learn to make those great videos and edit things out. So I am more prepared this time. I've got like a process in place. I talked a little bit about that last video, how I made one small step towards doing something for myself, and I ended up doing a whole few hours on my YouTube processes, my folder, how I store my information, and what I do with these videos. So I have a script. I don't have it like posted somewhere to see. I don't have what's the word, guys? A teleprompter. I don't have a teleprompter, and I don't plan on buying one, because the aim of this practice is to get used to talking to the camera and to kind of keep my composure and stay grounded. Because when I'm grounded and I maintain my composure, my memory works better and I remember what I wanted to say. So that said, I think it is really important to have a script of some kind, whether that's a full script or whether it's bullet points. And I did, I created a comprehensive script. I went through it a few times, edited it here and there, and kind of made it as concise as I could. And I'm left with quite a few pages, but the writing is pretty big, so I can see it. So in this live stream, you will see me looking down. I'm not going to pretend I'm not looking down and across at the script I've got, because it's really important for me to say all the things I want to say on this video. That is what brings value to the viewer. So if I come on and talk about a topic and miss all the points, then really there's not going to be much value in it. So this is what I'm going to do. I'm going to read my script throughout to make sure I'm not deviating too much. And in the video, when I do post that on my channel, then I'll be editing out all the pieces where I'm kind of looking away, or when I want to reword a certain statement. So you can see from the thumbnail of this live that I'm going to be talking about habits that Gen X people have. And in particular, negative habits that can really cause some significant damage to mental and physical health. So a bit of a clickbaity title. I just feel like it's not clickbaity, because it is real that some habits that we have can be very damaging to your health. And when your health is not in good shape, it can kill you, or it can significantly reduce the length or the quality of your life. So that's where we're going. We're going to talk about 3 habits. We're going to talk about 3 habits that a lot of Gen X people have that can cause a lot of damage to your life, can cause reduced. Here we go. I'm trying to make it perfect, and it's not going to be perfect, but I do like how this light is reducing the bags under my eyes. And I'm going to take a drink as well, because there's no one here. So, if you're Gen X and you spend a lot of time feeling like me, which is overwhelmed, exhausted, it could be that your habits, the things that you do unconsciously every day, are actually killing you. The good news is that you can change those habits by reframing your thoughts and the way you think about things, your patterns. So I am going to talk today about 3 nasty, unconscious habits that Gen X may have developed from our environment, and how to use things like anticipation, relaxation, and connection to change the way we think about new habits to improve our health. So this is something that I came across from listening to a Mel Robbins podcast. She had a guest, Charles Duhigg, on that day, just a couple of days ago. So maybe the 1st of December, around abouts. And he was talking about his book, The Power of Habit. And it really, the way he talked about habits resonated, because I've listened to a lot of podcasts. I haven't read a lot of books on habits, but obviously, what's springing to mind? It's gone. That's okay. There are a lot of books on habits. So there's a lot of information out there that I've consumed. And I'm just really excited to talk about this new way of looking at habits and changing the way we think about ourselves, which actually causes us to make healthier choices. So in this video, you're going to hear me referencing a few authors and scientists that discussed the there are in this video, we're going to talk about some scientists and an author that have researched and done a lot of work oh my goodness. We can't edit out of the live, and I have committed to doing these live streams. You can see the way I'm treating live streams is evolving. It really isn't supposed to be me making a video and you seeing the process of me screwing up lines, but this is where it's turning out today. Stay tuned for the next one on Thursday to see if I do any better. What I'm trying to say here is there's going to be 3 people that I referenced today that I researched to find content for this video. The first one I just mentioned is Charles Duhigg, the author of The Power of Habit. That's the book that he created. The other book I was thinking of was Atomic Habits by Simon Sinek. But in this case, we're going to talk about the approach from Charles Duhigg, which was quite novel, in my opinion. We're going to talk about the scientist, Dr. Daniel Amen, who has his own chain of clinics where he uses brain imaging to show how the brain is functioning, specifically in this case related to habits that we have. And finally, Dr. Caroline Leaf. She is a leading resource in neuroplasticity, and she's written a few books. The one that I read not that long ago was Clearing Up Your Mental Mess, with clear, concise steps that you can follow to actually change the way your brain frames things, to rewire your brain. And if you have any favorites, if you've read these books, if you've got other ones that you really like, please share them in the comments below. Engagement with my community, my Gen X community, is really important for me. I'm looking for my people. I'm looking for my people who are Gen X and have had this awakening, midlife crisis, not like a burnout of professionals, midlife Gen X professionals who've undergone a big transition in their life. I'm looking for you guys. So please comment below. And if you like what I'm saying, if you like what I'm trying to do, please subscribe. If I hit 50 subscribers, then I can live stream from my phone. That's somewhat of a goal that I've got right now. So we're going to talk about, just quickly, why habits matter. Habits free up mental energy that's taken up by making decisions. We have to make so many decisions in a day. And if we have habits built into our life, that takes one of those decisions away and leaves energy for the other decisions, other choices in our life. That's why it's so important to have habits. That said, damaging habits are probably causing more damage than if you were to make those intentional decisions one after another. Your brain would probably explode if you did that. And imagine what we could do with that energy if we weren't spending it on decisions, like the creativity, the choices we could make, the better choices for ourselves. It would be so freeing. The first habit I'm going to talk about is disordered sleep. And I think this is something which is pretty universal to professionals, people with young families, people with very busy lifestyles in general. It is very difficult to get to sleep. And there are lots of habits that we can have: too much caffeine, binge watching TV or social media, that can actually reduce your ability to sleep. So this is a pretty good one to speak about. So for Gen X, lack of sleep, or like staying awake and working really hard, was a badge of honor. It was not a bad thing. You know, we heard our parents say things like, "But you can't burn the candle at both ends." But that was about it. And I'm a very visual person, so I'm looking at a candle and thinking, well, you couldn't burn it at both ends because you wouldn't be able to set fire to the base because of all the wax. Like, what does that mean? What's the metaphor for that? I don't know. And it didn't really sit with us that there would be damaging effects of that. Those kinds of studies were just not widely talked about when we were young. And we were just left thinking, like, if you stay up, you get extra time. If you get up early, you get even more extra time. And then, that was reinforced by things like the 5 a.m. rule and how you could increase productivity by getting up really early in the morning. And I think a lot of us have fallen into that trap of getting up really early in the morning, but we've all got these really busy lives and commitments and things that we just want to do. We want our own time, so we're staying up late at night. And I think there is some part of us where our parents, who are typically baby boomers, equated like extra sleep with laziness. Oh, you're sleeping in, you're wasting the day, you're going to bed already, you could be doing something else. And all of that leaves this feeling that going to bed is a negative thing, going to bed early. And it feels like wasted time. Like, if you sleep less, you work longer, you'll get better results. That is the way the baby boomer generation felt about work. And what's happened? What's the result of that? Chronic sleep deprivation. And there are lots of studies out there now that show that, like, lack of sleep means that your brain is actually not regenerating and it reduces cognitive function. That's really bad. And I think it's really important to get this habit under control. Typically, when we think of habits, it's got like a negative connotation attached to it, because we think, oh, I don't want to do it, and I'm just going to make a habit of doing it. Like, it's hard work, you've just got to do it. And that really doesn't fly for me. I've read a lot of places that Gen X were pretty independent, and maybe that's the streak. Maybe I'm just being stubborn. I don't want to. You can't make me. I don't want to go to bed. So the new approach that Charles Duhigg uses in his book is to reframe the way you think about the habit. So the solution to this problem is creating an anticipatory sleep ritual. So anticipation is a big piece of the Duhigg's strategy for modifying or building better habits. There has to be excitement. There has to be something you're looking forward to about changing this habit. And you have to keep that in front of mind at all times to make those changes, to rewire your brain. So Caroline Leaf will say in her books and in her research that it takes 21 days to build a habit. So you have to find something that's going to make you want to do this for at least 21 days to have a fighting chance of building this new thing into your ritual. So, and I'm just going to read this because these are not things, I'm not going to talk about the ins and outs of building a habit because I feel like that's very personal. We all know what we can best do. We all know what we're capable of. We all know what we want to do. So the actual technicalities of how you're going to get yourself to bed earlier vary so widely, and I'm sure you can find more established YouTube channels than this one to find that out. So what I'm going to say is something to look forward to is way before you go to bed, think to yourself, tonight's the night I'm going to get a good night's sleep. I'm going to actually regenerate my brain. The cells are going to regenerate. The hormone levels are going to recalibrate. And I'm doing something good for my brain. I am improving my cognitive health. That is a benefit for everyone. It's something to be excited about, that you're changing your habits, that you're taking control of your life, you're being intentional with your life, and you're making changes for a better future. And, remember to see sleep as a reward, not a loss. So what I would say to myself is, I am the kind of person that prioritizes sleep and health. That is telling my brain that I am a optimistic, proactive person who values health. And those positive thought patterns can actually change the way we make decisions about other aspects of our life because we are healthy people. So that there is reinforcing our new habit, it's building self-esteem and it's building trust in ourselves. Even if it's only 10, 15 minutes earlier that you get to bed that night, you are still making a positive step towards your future instead of saying, it's a habit. I'm going to bed at 9 o'clock every night. Do something that's going to make you feel good. The connection there is Gen X people, apparently, well, I know this to be true. We thrive on external motivation. I don't want it to be true because it feels a bit needy for my personal liking. But I'm not going to go into the psychology of it. But I was talking to a fellow Gen X friend this weekend, and we both agreed that that external validation and that external motivation is something which is important to us. So tell someone else. It doesn't have to be necessarily an accountability partner, which I've heard before in other habit building books, but just have someone who knows what you're doing because it's like a support and it's accountability. Someone who can follow up and say, hey, how did you get on with that thing? And just like this 6 week challenge of live streams that I've made, it keeps you going. I don't think I would be doing this video now at like 9:30 p.m., which is close to my bedtime because I prioritize my health. I would just do this the next day, and we all know what the next day is, especially when you have ADHD. So, guys, you tell me, how did you move past this habit? Guys, I hate that word. So, you tell me, how did you get on with this habit? Have you already kicked this one? Have you already got a great bedtime that you're following? Was there something you want to share with this community that can, help them, like a real time example? Put it in the comments. I already said I really want to hear it. The next habit I'm going to talk about, and this one hits hard too, is people pleasing. I've read this a lot in Gen X content creators. Um, I have to remind myself that I am posting this, so I can't just sit there and have a total meltdown and slap the screen when I lose my train of thought. But I can take a drink of coffee, decaf, because I prioritize my health. Gen X was the latchkey generation. Whenever I use a word again and again and again, it gets annoying to me. So latchkey generation is a bit of an annoying phrase, but that describes what happened with us. We were kind of left to fend for ourselves and let ourselves in through the door after school, hence latchkey. But even though we were really independent, we craved approval and social harmony. We didn't want to rock the boat. We learned to soothe family conflict by meeting others' needs first. So we never wanted to cause any drama in the family. I don't know about you guys, but I heard my baby boomer parents and my grandparents, who are probably silent generation, using the phrase children should be seen and not heard. I heard that a lot. So the last thing I was going to do in my family environment was to set my own boundaries and say to parents or anyone really in the family unit, no, that's not the way it's going to be. I'm going to do this way. This works for me. I would just say what I needed to say to keep the peace. The result of the people pleasing is chronic. No. The result of Chronic people pleasing is that we have like a low grade chronic stress state. We are putting other people first, we are building resentment, and our own personal boundaries are being eroded. I feel this pretty much on a daily basis, even though the actions that I take on a daily basis now, I would say many of them are intentional, but I do a lot for others. I would like to think that I'm not necessarily people pleasing, but I recognize that I do put others first a lot of the time. And when you have a family, when you live in with a husband and kids, or a wife and kids, or just a husband or just a wife, if you are living with someone else, it's important to consider those people. But putting those people before yourself is what causes a lot of damage. And Daniel Amen has shown through brain scans that constant appeasement activates the threat detection system, something called the anterior cingulate, instead of the decision making prefrontal cortex. So you can see that our brains are taking an unhealthy pathway instead of going through the regular decision making healthy pathway where I want this action to happen. This is how I'm going to do to get it. We're we're activating a fight or flight response instead. Um, so what are we going to do? What is the solution? The solution is a boundary setting ritual. I find the word ritual instead of habit or routine to be much more empowering. It's something you are choosing to do. It feels like a nice pattern, something that you've chose to implement in your life, and it feels good. It's something that you want to do. So, what was suggested from the habit building um, the solution? No, not that. A boundary setting ritual in describes a ritual where we identify one boundary a week or one boundary in a time frame of your choosing. So thinking about something that is important for you, something that is valuable for you, that you want to implement in your life. So for example, I will not respond to emails on weekends. I will not answer a phone call after 7 p.m. Or if you're me, I will not answer a phone call, period, because I'm burned out now. So I can't do that. But those boundaries, knowing what's best for us, is something you need to do before you can implement it in your life. So once you've got that boundary, you visualize yourself speaking that boundary with a calm confidence, feeling completely empowered. You say to yourself, I am self aware and recognize the importance of having boundaries to preserve my health. That statement there, again, indicates to your brain that you are making intentional choices for your best future. And once you start saying those things, even if it's just internal, that's what I do. I say a lot of empowering, positive statements throughout the day in response to the negative inner critic. But it doesn't matter. What I'm doing is I am deciding what thoughts go through my head, what neural pathways are activated. And saying those boundaries, if it's silent or if it's out loud, that builds that pathway in your brain. Um, an important aspect of building that habit is to do some grounding exercises before you make that statement to make sure that your nervous system's under control and that you're being very intentional. So grounding exercises can be as simple as deep breathing, or you can do a relaxation exercise where you kind of feel your body, get yourself into the moment, feel yourself. If you're sitting down, you can feel yourself sitting in the chair, you feel the pressure on your legs, you can feel your fingers sitting on your thighs, you can feel your arms, and just do that self awareness, that grounding, that being in the moment. Um, there's lots of exercises around there about grounding. Mine may not be perfect, but I am very good now at grounding myself when I'm activated. It might not last a long time, but I'm very good at bringing myself back to the present. And the connection for this piece would be, again, telling a friend, telling a coach if you have one, or a mentor, that you are setting these boundaries and how you're going about doing that. So they can be a cheerleader, they can be the support that you need, they can be there to bounce ideas from. And if you are an introvert like me, you can do that with yourself. You can say all those things to yourself and you can hold yourself accountable. So, I can tell by the way I'm like going through this habit that I still struggle with the concept of boundaries. I do think that other people are more important than myself. I don't like saying that out loud, but it's something that's kind of stuck there. And I recognize that that's not a healthy thought. And I am taking control of that thought. I am changing the way that my mental pathways are going. I'm changing my neural network. So you tell me, when did you get comfortable with putting yourself first? The last habit I want to talk about is this is a big one for me: negativity bias and the inner critic. So I just want to start off with my call to action because I say some really mean things to myself. So I want to know, what is the meanest thing your inner critic said to you this week? Put it in the comments. If you don't want to put anything triggering in there, I'm sure you can find a way to explain it so we can all feel that we're not alone. And we can then recognize for ourselves how wrong that voice is. And we can be kind to each other and point out how awful that voice is and how that is like absolutely not the truth. So how does this relate to like Gen X upbringing? So Gen X grew up with a heavy media consumption focused on a lot of problems and crises going on across the world. And our parents would see these things and they would show us, oh, that's terrible. I'm really worried about it. We grew up in the age of debate. So there'd often be family conversations at the dinner table, talking about these things that were happening around the world and how awful it was and being worried about it. Like worrying was actually a strategy because it's completely outside of our control. And we were watching this and thinking, wow, worrying about something and talking about something that's outside of your control and how wrong it is and why it shouldn't happen is actually a strategy. And now we know that spending energy on things that's outside of our control, and especially when we don't have all of the information, can be very damaging for our mental health. Um, so I'm not going to go into the ins and outs of this. I don't know the psychology of exactly why this equated to such a loud inner critic, but it's definitely there. And when a negative thought comes into our head via our inner critic, our generation, we often listen to that thought and think that it actually is a real problem, not just a thought, which is exactly all it is. And we can choose to let it go and not feel any of the negative emotion that comes with that thought. So the result of these constant repetitive negative thoughts and the negativity neural pathways that happen is self-doubt, rumination, like constantly thinking the same negative thoughts again and again, and then our brain getting stuck in this threat detection mode, fight, flight, or fawn. which is where I lived for a very long time and still visit that place once in a while. Um, this is where Dr. Caroline Leaf's rewiring your brain really comes into place. You can really stop those thought patterns where they are. And I'd really recommend you looking into that. But the solution to this, the solution to the negative thoughts that you can implement right away is thought interruption and redirect practices. So recognizing those thoughts as soon as they come in, stopping and flipping the script. It doesn't mean saying the opposite to yourself. Oh, this is such a wonderful thing that has happened. When something's negative, it's negative, and we can have something negative happen and choose not to go down a negative pathway in our mind. We can redirect our attention and we can redirect our thoughts to a healthier place. So we set an intention to catch and redirect negative thoughts. So one way of doing this to make it more exciting is like make it a game. When a negative thought comes into your head, think the opposite thing. Just see if that sits. And sometimes we'll come to like a happy medium. So the anticipation of the mental challenge of flipping that thought actually activates your prefrontal cortex in a positive way. So even just trying to redirect that thought and reframe it is a strengthening exercise for your brain. Say to yourself, I am the kind of person who takes control of my thoughts and chooses what I believe and chooses the actions that I want to take and chooses whether to sit and ruminate on a thought or to let that thought go. When you catch the negative thought, there are some things you can do to relax. We talked about in the last habit, the deep breathing, the grounding exercise. These will calm your nervous system and stop you from spiraling down a negative pathway. And the connection, again, it's sharing something with the people around you. It can be through an actual person, having a discussion with a friend, or it could be like a more reflection practice like journaling and writing these thoughts down. And you're celebrating the way you've redirected your thought. And when you can rewire your brain, you deserve recognition. So it'd be good to write those things down. You're staying accountable and you're reflecting on it as well. So remember, 21 days, guys, 21 days until you notice that some of these habits are taking place. And I can say that from my perspective because I have a lot of negative thoughts. Now I catch them and sometimes I even laugh because they're so horrible and so untrue that it really is amazing. It really is amazing what the human brain will say to itself and think that it's useful to say those things to you. So, today I wanted to talk about these habits not only because I want everyone to be able to build things in their life that are going to give you a healthier lifestyle, that are going to extend your life, extend your health span, but also I wanted to talk about why Gen X people feel these things the way they do, where those things came from. And for each point, I feel like there was a lot of things that we were exposed to in our upbringing that contributed to these beliefs. And for Gen X people, we were taught to work really hard for results. If we can apply that hard work to building these better habits, we can build clarity, energy, and joy, and better decision making, which will affect all of our experiences. So getting better sleep, protecting our energy through boundaries, and redirecting negative thoughts can make these nasty habits things of the past. So if you have battled with any of these and come out the other end, again, please share below in the comments so we can all celebrate you, and we can maybe, use that real-time experience to improve our own lives. So things about Gen X that we do that are going to make habits hard is we tend to do all or nothing approaches to things. So I am going to fix all of my habits next week. We have to break things down. We have to make small steps if we're going to be successful. And we have to bear in mind that it takes up to 21 days to change a neural pathway. So if we're making changes, the best chance of keeping and implementing that change is by doing one thing at a time, one small thing at a time. Gen X people also, we tend to respond well to external accountability and progress, visible progress, being able to see how we're improving. So Charles Duhigg did actually recommend in his book to track one metric, not to track all the things that you're doing. That would be completely overwhelming, but just to choose one thing out of all of the habits that you're improving, a small piece of it that you can kind of see visually to encourage you to keep going. So for me, that is the sleep timer on my Apple Watch. So on the health app in Apple, it will tell you how long you slept that night, how long you were in deep sleep, REM sleep, and how long you were awake. And I have consistently got sleep scores of more than 90%. I would say in the last 3 months, most of my sleep scores were 90. And when they were bad, it was because I went to sleep late or I had gotten myself in a stress response by going through some of the thoughts that I've got ruminating from burnout that I'm trying to work through. So I could see very clearly how that affects my health through sleep. You can use a habit tracker, things like if you want to drink more water, you can track that because you are making better choices for yourself. Or you can do what we already talked about, tell a friend, find an accountability group. And if you make it public, you're more likely to stay on track. I hope that was helpful for everyone. I am halfway through my 6-week challenge of live streaming twice a week on Tuesdays and Thursdays. I only have 5 more live streams coming up, and then I will have completed this challenge, and I will be so happy because it has been something which I've struggled with, and the old me would not have put in this much work into completing that task. So please subscribe if you like this content. I am trying to get to 50 subscribers so that I can live stream on my phone. I would like to do that in the next few weeks. And thank you for watching. I'm Jen. This is Gen X Values.